In a distant future, humanity had finally earned its place among the stars. After decades of effort, Earth became one of the youngest members of the Galactic Council, an alliance of advanced civilizations from across the galaxy. John Carter, a skilled diplomat, stood proudly at the center of this historic moment. He was representing humanity during the Council's annual summit aboard Solara Prime, a massive orbital station that floated near a glowing blue star. With him was Maria Lopez, his trusted assistant, who worked tirelessly to ensure every detail of their presentation was perfect. The room where the summit took place was enormous, with high ceilings and walls made of shimmering, translucent material that allowed glimpses of the cosmos outside. Representatives from dozens of alien species sat around a large circular table. Each ambassador had their own unique appearance. Some were tall and slender, others short and broad, and a few even resembled floating orbs of light. Despite their differences, all shared a common goal: maintaining peace and cooperation among the galaxy's many peoples. John felt both excitement and nervousness as he prepared to speak. This was humanity's chance to prove itself worthy of being part of such an important group. For years, humanity had struggled with challenges on Earth: climate change, resource shortages, and political conflicts, but they had also shown incredible progress. They hoped the Council would see their potential and grant them access to shared technology and resources that could help rebuild their planet. Maria handed John a small tablet containing his notes. "You've got this," she whispered encouragingly. John nodded, taking a deep breath before stepping up to the podium. As he began speaking, his voice echoed through the chamber. He talked about humanity's journey, their struggles, and their dreams for the future. He emphasized the importance of unity and how working together could benefit not just Earth but the entire galaxy. At first, the audience seemed attentive. Some ambassadors nodded approvingly, while others scribbled notes. But John couldn't ignore the cold stares coming from certain members, especially Cal Vorn, a reptilian ambassador known for his harsh views on younger civilizations. Cal's golden eyes glinted with disapproval as he listened to John's words. It made John uneasy, but he pressed on, determined to make his case. When John finished, there was a brief silence before the council chair called for discussion. That's when things started to go wrong. Several ambassadors spoke against humanity, citing examples of violence and destruction throughout human history. Others argued that Earth's environmental problems showed a lack of responsibility. Cal Vorn was particularly vocal, his deep, raspy voice cutting through the air as he accused humanity of being too dangerous to trust. Maria watched anxiously from her seat, sensing the tide turning against them. Despite John's best efforts to defend humanity, the mood in the room grew increasingly hostile. When the time came for the vote, the result was devastating. The Council declared humanity unfit for membership and ordered an immediate quarantine of Earth. The decision meant no trade, no communication, and no assistance from other civilizations. As John and Maria left the chamber, they felt a mix of anger and disbelief. How could this happen? Humanity had so much to offer, yet the Council saw them as nothing more than a threat. Little did they know, this was only the beginning of a much darker plot, one that would put the entire human race in grave danger. Back on Earth, the news of the Galactic Council's decision spread quickly. People were shocked and confused. Streets filled with protests as citizens demanded answers from their leaders. Governments held emergency meetings, trying to figure out what to do next. The Council's ruling felt like a slap in the face. Humanity had worked so hard to earn their place among the stars, only to be rejected, and worse, isolated. Samantha Brooks, a journalist based in New York City, was determined to uncover the truth. She had always been curious and never afraid to ask tough questions. While reporting on the growing unrest, she stumbled upon strange rumors. Some people claimed the Council's decision wasn't fair, that it was based on lies. Intrigued, Samantha dug deeper. Late one night, while sifting through classified documents online, she found something unsettling: a leaked report suggesting the Council had fabricated evidence against humanity. The next day, Samantha tracked down Alex Rivera, a former data analyst who had worked on Solara Prime. Alex had recently quit his job, claiming he couldn't stay silent about what he'd seen. They met in a quiet cafe far from prying eyes. Alex looked nervous, constantly glancing over his shoulder, as if someone might be watching. When Samantha asked him about the leaked report, he hesitated but eventually spoke. "It's worse than anyone knows," Alex said in a low voice. "Some members of the Council don't just want to isolate Earth. They think humanity is too dangerous to exist at all." He explained that a powerful faction led by Cal Vorn, the reptilian ambassador, planned to destroy Earth entirely. Their reasoning: humanity's history of war and conflict made them unpredictable, a potential threat to galactic peace. Samantha's heart raced as she listened. This wasn't just about rejection, it was about survival. If Alex was telling the truth, humanity was running out of time. She pressed him for more details, and Alex revealed that the Council had already begun preparing for an attack. Automated ships were being deployed, and a countdown to Earth's destruction had likely started. "I didn't know what else to do," Alex admitted. "I tried reaching out to others, but no one believes me. You're my last hope." Samantha knew she had to act fast, but who could she trust with this information? Her mind immediately went to John Carter, the diplomat who had represented humanity during the summit. If anyone could make sense of this mess, it was him. She reached out to Maria Lopez, John's assistant, and arranged a secret meeting. When Samantha finally met with John and Maria, she laid everything out on the table. At first, they struggled to believe her story. It sounded too extreme, too impossible. But when Alex joined the meeting via a secure video call and provided concrete evidence, files, timestamps, and intercepted communications, they realized the truth. Humanity wasn't just facing isolation, it was facing extinction. John clenched his fists, anger boiling inside him. "We can't let this happen," he said firmly. "There has to be a way to stop them." Maria nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "If we can get this information to the right people, maybe we can expose the Council's plan. But we'll need help." Samantha suggested reaching out to Daniel Harper, a retired astronaut turned engineer. Daniel still had connections with Earth's space program and access to old equipment that might come in handy. Together, they began formulating a desperate plan. Time was slipping away, and every second counted. They knew they couldn't fight the Council head-on, but perhaps they could find a way to warn humanity, or even intercept the Council's forces before it was too late. As the group worked tirelessly, Samantha couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Paranoia crept into their conversations, but they pushed forward anyway. The stakes were too high to give up now. Humanity's fate rested in their hands, and failure wasn't an option. John and Maria returned to Earth with heavy hearts. The betrayal by the Galactic Council weighed on them, but now they had a new mission: survival. Samantha's revelation about the Council's plan to destroy Earth changed everything. They couldn't sit back and wait for disaster to strike. With Alex's evidence in hand, they knew they had to act quickly. But how could they stop an entire fleet of advanced alien ships? They turned to Daniel Harper, a retired astronaut who still worked as an engineer. Daniel lived in a small town near Cape Canaveral, surrounded by old rocket parts and dusty blueprints. When John and Maria arrived at his workshop, they found him tinkering with a broken engine. His face lit up when he saw them, but it quickly turned serious as they explained the situation. "This is insane," Daniel said after hearing their story. "You're telling me the Council wants to wipe us out, and you expect me to believe we can stop them?" "It's true," Maria replied, showing him the files Alex had provided. "We don't have much time." Daniel studied the documents carefully. Though skeptical, he couldn't deny the evidence. After a long pause, he sighed. "All right, I'm in. But we'll need more than just words. We need a ship." That's when John shared their plan. Using outdated shuttles and scavenged parts, they would build a vessel capable of reaching the Council's blockade. It wasn't going to be easy. Most of Earth's space program had been dismantled years ago, but Daniel believed it was possible. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work immediately, sketching designs and gathering materials. The team grew as others joined the effort. Rachel Morgan, a fearless pilot known for her quick thinking, volunteered to fly the mission. Ethan Cole, a brilliant astrophysicist, offered his expertise in navigation and communication systems. Together, they formed a small but determined crew. Each member brought something valuable to the table, and their shared goal united them despite the overwhelming odds. Days turned into nights as the group worked tirelessly. The workshop became a hive of activity, filled with the hum of tools and the smell of welding torches. Daniel supervised the construction, ensuring every piece fit perfectly. Rachel ran simulations to test the ship's capabilities, while Ethan fine-tuned the communication systems. John and Maria coordinated logistics, making sure they had enough fuel, food, and supplies for the journey. As the ship took shape, tensions began to rise. Everyone felt the pressure of their mission. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Ethan voiced his doubts. "What if we fail?" he asked, staring at the half-built ship. "What if we're too late?" Rachel placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We can't think like that," she said firmly. "If we don't try, humanity has no chance. This isn't just about us. It's about everyone back home." Her words reminded them why they were doing this. They weren't fighting for themselves. They were fighting for billions of people who didn't even know the danger looming over them. With renewed determination, they pushed forward, completing the ship just in time. They named it *Hope's Echo*, a symbol of their resolve. On the night of the launch, the team gathered around the vessel, feeling a mix of fear and hope. John addressed the group, his voice steady despite the weight of what lay ahead. "This isn't just a mission," he said. "It's our last stand. Whatever happens, we'll make sure humanity knows the truth." As the countdown began, Rachel climbed into the cockpit, her hands gripping the controls. Ethan monitored the systems, while Maria and John secured themselves in their seats. Daniel stood outside, watching with a mixture of pride and worry. When the engines roared to life, lighting up the dark sky, he whispered a silent prayer. *Hope's Echo* soared into the void, carrying not just its crew but the hopes of an entire planet. Their journey was dangerous and uncertain, but one thing was clear: they wouldn't give up without a fight. The journey through space was long and tense. The crew of *Hope's Echo* faced challenges from the very start. The ship, though built with care, was far from perfect. It rattled and groaned as it pushed forward, its engines straining under the pressure. Rachel Morgan, the pilot, kept a close eye on every gauge and dial, making constant adjustments to keep them on course. Ethan Cole worked tirelessly at his station, monitoring the ship's systems and ensuring their communication equipment stayed functional. As they approached the edge of the solar system, the mood aboard the ship grew heavier. They knew they were heading into dangerous territory. The Council's blockade loomed ahead, a massive wall of ships designed to prevent anyone from leaving Earth or entering it. John Carter sat quietly in his seat, staring out the window at the endless expanse of stars. Maria Lopes tried to keep everyone's spirits up, but even she struggled to stay optimistic. When they finally reached the blockade, the sight was overwhelming. Dozens of sleek alien vessels floated in formation, their surfaces glinting faintly in the starlight. Automated drones patrolled the area, scanning for any signs of movement. Rachel slowed the ship to avoid detection, her hands steady on the controls. "We need to be smart about this," she said. "One wrong move, and we're done." Ethan studied the patrol patterns on his screen. "There's a gap near the third quadrant," he said. "If we time it right, we might slip through." Rachel nodded and prepared for the maneuver. She guided *Hope's Echo* toward the opening, weaving between the drones with incredible precision. The ship shook violently as alarms blared inside the cabin. "They've spotted us," Ethan shouted. "Hold on," Rachel yelled back, pushing the engines to their limit. She performed a series of sharp turns, dodging laser fire from the drones. Sparks flew as one shot grazed the hull, but Rachel didn't falter. Her focus was absolute, her instincts razor-sharp. John clenched the armrests of his chair, his knuckles white. "You're doing great, Rachel," he said, trying to sound calm. Maria gripped her seat tightly, her heart pounding as the ship rocked violently. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they broke through the blockade. The drones fell behind, unable to follow them into deeper space. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief, though they knew the hardest part was still ahead. They had made it past the first obstacle, but the Council's flagship, *Ecliptica*, awaited them. As they drew closer to the massive vessel, John stood up and addressed the group. "This is it," he said. "We've come too far to turn back now. Let's finish what we started." Ethan double-checked the transmission equipment while Maria prepared the message they planned to broadcast. Rachel set the ship on a direct course for *Ecliptica*, knowing they would soon face whatever defenses the Council had waiting for them. When they arrived, the flagship loomed above them like a mountain. Its surface was smooth and metallic, reflecting the light of nearby stars. John activated the communication system and sent a signal requesting permission to speak with Cal Vorn, the reptilian ambassador who had led the charge against humanity. To their surprise, the Council agreed to hear them out. John stepped up to the microphone, his voice firm despite the fear gnawing at him. "Ambassador Vorn, you must listen to us. Your decision to destroy Earth is based on lies. Humanity deserves a chance to prove itself." For a moment, there was silence. Then Cal's deep, raspy voice crackled over the speakers. "Your words mean nothing," he said coldly. "You are a threat to the galaxy." Before John could respond, alarms blared again. The Council wasn't interested in negotiations. They had detected *Cope's Echo*, and were preparing to attack. The crew braced themselves as the flagship unleashed a barrage of weapons. Rachel skillfully dodged the blasts, her movements frantic but precise. "We can't hold them off forever," Ethan shouted, panic creeping into his voice. "We don't have to," John replied. "Just give me enough time to get the truth out." With seconds ticking away, the crew fought desperately to keep the ship intact. Their mission was far from over, but one thing was certain: they wouldn't go down without a fight. John's voice echoed through the communication system as he pleaded with Cal Vorn and the other Council members. "You've been missiled," he said, his tone urgent but calm. "The evidence against humanity was fabricated. If you destroy Earth, you'll be committing an act of genocide based on lies." Cal's golden eyes narrowed on the screen, his expression unreadable. For a moment, it seemed like John's words had no effect. Then, to everyone's surprise, another voice cut in. Ambassador Lyra Nice, a representative of the aquatic Lumine race, spoke up. Her voice was soft but firm. "Cal, we must reconsider this decision. The data presented by the humans raises serious questions. We cannot act without certainty." Her intervention caused a stir among the Council members. Some agreed with her, while others sided with Cal. Arguments erupted, filling the chamber with chaos. John seized the opportunity to broadcast their evidence directly to the Council's mainframe. Ethan worked quickly at his station, hacking into the flagship's systems to upload the files Alex Rivera had provided. "They're trying to override our controls," one of the Council technicians shouted, panic rising in his voice. Cal slammed his fist on the table, his frustration evident. "Enough of this," he roared. "Destroy their vessel immediately." But Lyra wasn't done. She stood up, her shimmering form glowing brighter as she addressed the room. "If we act now without verifying the truth, we risk losing the very principles this Council was founded upon. Is that what we want? To become no better than those we deem unworthy?" Her words struck a chord. Several ambassadors hesitated, glancing at each other uncertainly. The division within the council gave John and his crew precious time. Ethan managed to plant the evidence deep within the council's system, ensuring it couldn't be easily erased. "It's done," he said, relief washing over his face. Meanwhile, Rachel continued to evade the council's attacks. Lasers streaked past Hope's Echo narrowly missing the ship. The hull groaned under the strain, and warning lights flashed across the control panel. "We can't keep this up much longer," Rachel yelled, sweat dripping down her forehead. "I know," John replied. He turned back to the communication system. "Council members, you now have access to the truth. Humanity is not your enemy. If you proceed with this attack, you will betray everything you claim to stand for." The room fell silent as the council reviewed the evidence. Even Cale seemed uneasy, though he refused to admit it. The tension aboard Hope's Echo was unbearable. Every second felt like an eternity. Finally, Lyra spoke again. "We need more time to examine these claims. Until then, all actions against Earth must be suspended." Cale growled in protest, but the majority of the council supported Lyra's proposal. The order to stand down was given, and the attacks ceased. For now, Earth was safe. Back on the ship, the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. But their victory was short-lived. As they prepared to leave, alarms blared once more. Boarding parties from Ecliptica were approaching, intent on capturing them. "They're not letting us go," Maria said, her voice trembling. "We knew this might happen," John replied. "Rachel, get us out of here. Ethan, make sure that message gets broadcast to Earth, no matter what." Rachel pushed the engines to their limit, weaving through space as the council's forces closed in. Ethan worked furiously to send the final transmission, a warning to humanity to flee before it was too late. Bullets ricocheted off the hull, and smoke filled the cabin. Despite the chaos, the crew remained focused. They had come too far to fail now. As they sped away, Rachel glanced at the others. "Hold on tight," she said. "This isn't over yet." The chase was relentless. Boarding parties from Ecliptica pursued Hope's Echo with unyielding determination. Rachel pushed the ship to its limits, her hands gripping the controls as she zigzagged through space. The Council's forces fired repeatedly, their lasers narrowly missing the battered vessel. Smoke filled the cabin, and warning alarms blared incessantly. Despite the chaos, the crew worked together, each person focused on their role. Ethan sat at his station, frantically typing commands into the console. His task was critical, ensuring the final message reached Earth before it was too late. "Almost there," he muttered under his breath, sweat dripping from his brow. Maria hovered nearby, holding onto a strap to steady herself as the ship rocked violently. She handed him tools and spare parts whenever needed, her movements quick and precise. John stood near the front of the cabin, watching the pursuit unfold through the cracked viewport. He clenched his fists tightly, torn between fear and resolve. "We're not going down without a fight," he said, his voice firm despite the tension in the air. Rachel shouted over the noise, her voice strained but determined. "They're closing in. I can't shake them off forever." She made another sharp turn, dodging a volley of laser fire that narrowly missed the ship's wing. Sparks flew as one shot grazed the hull, causing the lights inside to flicker. "Just a little longer," Ethan yelled back, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Finally, a green light flashed on his screen. "Message sent," he exclaimed, relief washing over his face. The transmission contained everything. The truth about the Council's betrayal, the evidence Alex had uncovered, and a desperate plea for humanity to flee Earth while they still could. But their victory came at a cost. Moments later, an explosion rocked the ship as enemy fire struck one of the engines. Flames erupted in the rear compartment, filling the cabin with thick smoke. Alarms screamed louder than ever, and the ship began to lose speed. "We've been hit," Rachel cried, struggling to maintain control. "I'm losing power." John grabbed a fire extinguisher and rushed toward the flames, working quickly to put them out. Maria helped Ethan secure loose equipment that threatened to fly around the cabin. Through the chaos, Rachel kept her focus, guiding the ship toward a nearby asteroid field where they might find cover. As they entered the dense cluster of rocks, the Council's ships hesitated, unwilling to risk damage to their own vessels. For a brief moment, it seemed like they might escape. But then, a boarding party launched smaller pods, determined to capture Hope's Echo Asterisk. One pod latched onto the ship, and heavy footsteps echoed through the hull as the intruders breached the airlock. "Weapons!" John shouted, grabbing a makeshift tool to defend himself. Maria and Ethan followed suit, arming themselves with whatever they could find. Rachel stayed at the controls, refusing to abandon her post. The first wave of attackers stormed into the cabin, clad in sleek armor and armed with advanced weapons. A fierce struggle broke out. John swung his tool with all his strength, striking one of the invaders and knocking him back. Maria dodged a blow and retaliated with a wrench, hitting another attacker squarely in the chest. Ethan, though less experienced in combat, managed to disable a third enemy by smashing a piece of equipment over their helmet. Despite their efforts, the odds were against them. More attackers poured in, overwhelming the small crew. Just as it seemed like all hope was lost, Rachel made a split-second decision. She activated the ship's self-destruct sequence, giving the others a chance to escape. "Get out," she yelled, her voice filled with urgency. "I'll hold them off." "No," John protested, but Rachel locked the controls, sealing herself inside. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at her friends one last time. "Go, save yourselves and Earth." With heavy hearts, the remaining crew members fled to an escape pod. As they launched away from Hope's Echo Asterisk, the ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking the attackers with it. Rachel's sacrifice ensured their survival, but the pain of losing her weighed heavily on everyone. Back on Earth, the message reached its destination. Governments scrambled to act, mobilizing ships and resources to evacuate as many people as possible. Though millions would be left behind, countless others escaped, carrying with them the hope of rebuilding elsewhere. Humanity's darkest hour had passed, thanks to the bravery of a few who refused to give up. Years passed, and humanity slowly rebuilt itself among the stars. The scattered colonies thrived on distant planets, each bearing the resilience and spirit of those who had fled Earth. Though their home world was lost, its memory lived on in the hearts of survivors. The sacrifices made during that desperate time became legends, stories told to inspire future generations. John Carter, now an elder statesman, often reflected on those days. He lived on a small colony called New Dawn, a planet with rolling green hills and clear blue skies. It reminded him of Earth, though it could never truly replace it. Maria Lopes stayed by his side, chronicling their journey and preserving the lessons learned from their struggle. Together, they worked to ensure humanity would never forget where it came from or the cost of survival. Ethan Cole dedicated his life to science, using what he had learned aboard Hope's Echo Asterisk to advance technology for the colonies. His innovations helped them adapt to new environments, making life easier for everyone. Though he carried the weight of Rachel Morgan's sacrifice, he channeled his grief into purpose, honoring her memory through his work. Maria continued documenting humanity's story, creating records that would endure for centuries. She wrote about Rachel's bravery, Alex Rivera's courage, and the countless others who had risked everything to save their species. Her writings became required reading in schools, teaching children the value of unity and determination. The Galactic Council remained fractured after the events surrounding Earth's destruction. Ambassador Lyra Nyes played a key role in exposing the conspiracy within its ranks. Her actions sparked a movement for reform, as more members began questioning the Council's methods. Cal Vorn's influence waned, his reputation tarnished by the truth about his role in the plot. Whispers of rebellion hinted at change brewing within the Council, offering hope that justice might one day prevail. Back on Earth, the planet lay silent and abandoned. Its cities were overgrown with vines, its oceans calm and empty. Yet even in ruin, it stood as a symbol of humanity's strength. Survivors spoke of returning one day, when they were strong enough to reclaim their birthplace. Until then, they carried Earth's legacy with them wherever they went. In the quiet moments, John would sit outside his home on New Dawn, gazing up at the stars. He thought about Rachel and all the others who hadn't made it. Their sacrifices had given humanity a second chance, and he vowed never to take that for granted. Sometimes Maria joined him, bringing cups of warm tea. They didn't speak much, just sat together, watching the sky. One evening, a young boy approached John. "Sir," he said shyly, "is it true you were part of the mission that saved us?" John smiled gently. "We all saved each other," he replied. "Every person who built a ship, flew a shuttle, or cared for someone else, they all played a part." The boy nodded, his eyes wide with admiration. "Do you think we'll ever go back to Earth?" John looked toward the horizon, where the sun was setting in hues of orange and pink. "Someday," he said softly. "But until then, we carry Earth with us, not just as a place, but as a promise to keep going, no matter what." As the years turned into decades, humanity flourished. New colonies sprang up across the galaxy, each one a testament to their resilience. Children grew up hearing tales of Earth and the heroes who had fought to save them. And though the scars of the past remained, they served as reminders of how far humanity had come and how much farther it could go. Among the stars, humanity found a new beginning. But deep down, they knew they were still the same people who had once gazed at the night sky and dreamed of reaching it. For all their struggles and losses, one thing remained unchanged. They were humanity, and they would survive.